You are live.
Hey,
Hi, everybody.
all right.
I'm Penny with Evil Sizer. We've got Bob across TCS, and we've got a special guest,
Yeah.
Mr. G from Truckers G.
I don't know how special that is, but
He's going to talk to us about time on the road, Hotshot. We're just going to pick his brain today. I've had a lot of questions about that lately.
yeah, I've never done Hotshot. I thought
Yeah,
you were
no,
talking about somebody else.
Oh, okay. Well, we're still going to pick your brain.
Hopefully, it's a small pit.
You know, I've been on the road today myself. I started out the day in Amarillo. I'm in Fort Worth right now. We'll be here for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and gonna move my daughter from one place to another here in town. And so I've seen a lot of trucks on the road. A lot of them I recognize. And, you know, the route going down. But what can you tell? What do you think is like? I'm gonna let's just start out with. Gosh, what's my question? Bob,
I've been having all kinds of moments like that.
I know.
So, let's just talk a little bit about let's just talk about your experiences on the road. I know you start 29 years ago now. You know, you came in as a new driver. You had very little help or mentorship from what I'm reading on your bio, but you worked your way through. You did get some mentors coming in, and you become a mentor to many others in the industry. So let's look at these guys, and I don't know who's online or who's live right now. I'm not looking at our count, but hopefully we get up there with some of these new guys, can get a little bit of words of wisdom from you as they're starting out. What do you think is one of the most important things they should know coming into the business as a driver, as a carrier?
That's a loaded question.
Never be afraid to ask questions. I mean, it sounds so simple, but so many people are afraid to ask questions. I mean, you new guys just coming into the industry, whether you're new to truck driving or new to being a business owner or new to anything, you guys got it so much easier than what I did when I started. You know, we got internet, we've got Facebook, we've got all these different platforms we can reach out to get information from, and it's a whole lot easier than it was back in the day. You know, I didn't have nobody I could ask once I got out of the truck and asked somebody. You know, so never be afraid to ask questions.
All right.
Yeah, seriously.
Looks like Shaggy's checked in with us. Hey, Shaggy, how you doing?
Yeah, and Dan.
Dan.
Got
right.
Aaron. I'm gonna see if I can pull Aaron in. And you know, that's what I always tell my clients. I know I have
There he
some.
is.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Hey, nobody.
Hey, G. You know, so I have a lot of clients that, you know, there's like, they apologize when they call and ask me a question. But usually it's a very valid question that, you know, a lot of other people will have as well. So, you know, I don't think there's any stupid questions in this business. We've got Aaron with
Money Penny Trucking.
Yep.
So we just kind of asked a loaded question of G there, Aaron. I'm going to ask the same thing of you. Now, I know you've been up and down the food chain a little bit there on the when you first started out, you had a few struggles running the Hotshot operation out there. Maybe you can share a little bit about some of these guys that are coming in and you know, they're Hotshot, and there's a lot of guys wanting to enter the market as a Hotshot operation. And maybe you'd give a little advice to these guys real quick on some of the do's and don'ts coming in as a Hotshot authority.
Boy, the don'ts would be a long one on that one, guys. I got a long list there, man. I've learned everything the hard way, you know.
Don't we all?
Well, for those of you who don't know, I'm Aaron, Money Penny on Money Penny Trucking. Trucker G, I follow you. I've seen Penny several times on Shaggy stuff. But, yeah, as far as, you know, do's and don'ts, Hotshot, man, it's tough because there's so many doing it wrong that it just gives us a bad name, and DOT's just looking for you all the time for every little thing. The inspections are easier, they're faster. So when we started out, I actually just made some content about this the other day, man. We got busted for everything on level ones. You know, not having fuses, window tint, just, you know, fire extinguishers not being mounted, so many things. And it's tough. It's really tough. If you start out like we did and make all those mistakes, you know, it's hard to get that safety score back in the right realm, or how, you know, it's hard to recover from all the mistakes. So if you start off on the right foot, you're you know, there's so many ways to do it wrong. If you start off on the right foot, you're just, you know, way in a better direction.
Yeah, I just had
two ways to learn it: through the School of Hard Knocks or to get an education. And the School of Hard Knocks always costs more.
So what's your number one tip for somebody If you could give them one tip.
Just keep your equipment really, really tight and neat and nice, even more so than a semi, because they're going to look for every reason. Just because I would say 3 out of 10 guys don't have a CDL, are running illegal, don't have a portion plates, are overweight, just a million different things. And so those inspections are just easy for them because they're faster and they're looking to ride out. So keeping your equipment nice, knowing what you need to know, get an education. And if you don't, have the energy or the ability to learn all the things that you need to know or no experience at all, you need to hire somebody that can help you do it the right way.
Man, you nailed that on the head.
Yep. Now, I did meet Aaron out there in Tampa at Shaggy's boot camp. So one of the things that he brought up to me that I thought was of some importance there was that when he started out, he started out trying to do it non-CDL drivers. And he ran into some problems with that because, again, and I can think of a multitude of reasons why you wouldn't want to start out that way, but there's a ton of people that argue for it. What's your feeling on that, operating in that hotshot realm? What's your feeling on it, Aaron?
I don't even mess with it anymore just because there is a way to do it. It's just really tough, and you limit yourself. So why would you want to put limitations on yourself to make money or an aggravation in your job when a CDL is not that difficult? Just do it the right way, get it, eliminate the headaches. So if you do get pulled in, you can say, hey, here's my CDL, here's all my paperwork, I'm legal, I'm legit, and they'll leave you alone, and they're like, okay, this guy knows his stuff. But as an example, there's actually a non-CDL hotshot guy that's on YouTube. I don't know if you guys follow him. I'm not going to mention any names, but he's been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and he's got 500,000 miles under his belt, and he's non-CDL, and he's always saying, you don't need a CDL, you don't need a CDL. Well, the other day he got busted, and he put it on YouTube, and they finally got him, and he was 60 pounds overweight, and they gave him an out of service. 60 pounds.
There you go.
That's the difference of a tire or anything, right? So he's stuck there, out of service, can't move the equipment, can't move the truck, can't deliver the load.
Wow.
And I think he tried to put he had some spare tires or something. He was going to put them in somebody else's truck and go on down the road. And then, they meet up and he get them back. And the DOT officer was like, nope, buddy, if you leave here, I'm going to send a guy with you and you need to go to a UPS place. And that guy needs to mail them off for you, because you put it back on the truck, you're just going down the road and you're going to do it again, So that's my little 2 cents on it. Is it might work. And I told all my guys, it might work for a year, 2 years. And you'll catch all the guys that are like, oh, yeah, you're good. You're within tolerance or weight or you're legal. And you're going to catch that one guy who's like, nope, this needs a CDL.
Yep. Wow. And that one guy can set you back. I was just talking to a guy starting his business that Justin's father brought over, and we're talking about setting up his company and doing everything the right way from the start. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is not only do you have that first 90 days coming in business, as a trucking company, the first 90 days is difficult on freight. If you're not prepared, you haven't gone through Shaggy's training courses, you haven't talked to G or somebody that knows how to get freight relationships going, and you don't have anything, you can't afford an out of service because you just lost 50%, 60% of the brokers. It might have worked with you, but now you got your 1-for-1 on inspection and out of service. You just can't afford that. So it doesn't make any sense to start up the wrong way. I mean, when you started out, did you have out of services? I mean, different days back in G starting days.
We've had several of them. I mean, I did almost everything wrong the first year trying to figure it out, just going in a rush and not taking that stuff seriously. I had a CDL for years, but I mostly drove my own trucks locally, bucket trucks and different things. I never really did a lot of over the road, so the hotshot thing was some of the first experience in that. And I learned everything the hard way, man. A ton of out of services. I think we had 3 or 4 in the first year and a half or something like that. But what I try to tell guys, because I get calls from them all the time, hey, I'm non-CDL hotshot, I'd love to lease on or whatever. And I just tell them, no, man, go get your CDL. 2-3 weeks of getting your CDL, and you can come on with us. And then they'll tell me I don't need one and everything else, and they're running 40 foots with tandem duals, and it's like, yes, you do.
Absolutely.
But I don't even you post it online, anything, and they just attack you. Oh yeah, you need a CDL to drive a lawnmower, don't you? They just get on you, But I'm like, man, even if there is such a thing as non-CDL, in my opinion, I would just make all the drivers get a CDL if they work for me, or if you're going into it, get one anyway, because you're driving a commercial vehicle and you need to know things. You need to know about weight distribution. You need to know about turning radiuses and how to back up and stuff. And you should have that certification. But it's just too much liability. Not to mention the insurance doesn't even like having non-CDLs on there. They want the CDL. So
Right.
But what I try to tell
Other
guys
guys
is
do that
if
because
you
they
knows
think
how to services and you want to get your CDL later on, or maybe you go bankrupt in your hotshot business or whatever, and you like driving and you want to go to work for somebody or buy your own truck, like Trucker G, and get some whatever. Nobody will hire you without a service, and that no CDL ticket sticks with you for a long time, and that's one of the worst ones you can get.
Right. Plus the fine associated to it. So, G, in your experience here, what has changed over the last, let's just say 5 years, 10 years? Because you've been around this a very, very long time, and regulations change all the time. And we know you started back in, 92?
Yeah.
And so in that timeline, I mean, there were no driver files, there was no nothing. I mean, there were some things, but it just wasn't the same as today. You feel like and people complain about this all the time, and I'm the bad guy because I'm over here on the safety and the compliance side, so we've got to be compliant. But at the end of the day, I understand that we want freedom to roam, we want our freedoms in life, and we don't want to be overregulated. And I know there's some overregulation also, so I'm sympathetic to both sides of this equation. But what do you think is really the biggest changes that people need to be aware of? If they're coming over trying to get their own authority, they've been driving 15 years, something like that, 10 years. They just don't know what's happened in the industry other than whatever the company told them they're driving for.
Yeah, I kind of didn't hear a lot of the question. I don't know if it's just me, but it's pretty digital. But as far as the changes go, I heard that part. I mean, things are changing daily. I mean, they change stuff on us all the time. And unless you're keeping track of all this stuff on a day-to-day basis, you miss a lot of stuff, especially if you're an owner-operator running for yourself and you don't have some safety guy at the office telling you, or a guy like Bob telling you what's changed. If you're not keeping up with what's going on, you're missing out on a lot because, like I said, things are changing constantly.
Yeah. Well, the clearinghouse came about this year. That's been a pain in the rear end. Just another measure to synchronize all the information they have on drivers, really, and companies. And I was just telling somebody, pretty soon they're going to put a scope up our rear ends, and it's just the way it's going to be apparently. But I think we need to go ahead, G. It looked like that might have struck a nerve.
You're talking about that scope. I haven't got the scope yet, but they did place all the attachments. It's ready to be a fix.
Or the chip that's going to go in the vaccine.
There you go. No, so we want to make sure there's things that have made you successful over the years. So we'll start with G. What do you think has been your reason for your success?
The reason for my success? Luck. A lot of luck and a lot of faith.
You got 10,000 followers, man. Don't tell me.
A lot of luck and a lot of faith. I mean,
yeah, you got 10,000 people that watch you, though. So there's reasons why they're watching you, and it must be some of the advice you give.
I think they just like laughing at me is what I think it is. I haven't put my finger on it yet. Either that or it's the pretty wife I got. It's one of those two, but I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. No, actually, I just give what experiences I've had in life, And the best way to learn is to learn from other people's mistakes. I made a multitude of them, let me tell you.
How about you, Aaron? I mean,
I would agree with what he said. Is learning from other people's mistakes. It's kind of awesome that there's people on the platforms now, or more people coming about trying to educate the industry. I think that's what the industry has really lacked. Is when I started out, and I guarantee you when G started out, there was no forums like this. There was no people really, getting out there and trying to make a difference. And truckers, man, we're a bunch of hardheads, man. When I was out there, it's like, everybody will open a door for you, and it's kind of a brotherly thing, but at the same time, they'll tear you down on social media and tell you, oh, screw this guy. And so it's tough to get out here and kind of put some stuff out there because everybody's got their opinion on how they should do things. And but it's good. If I would have had something like this, there's been a few guys that have been on social media, YouTube and stuff for, 6, 7, 8 years. But if you guys really look at it, it's not been that popular until recently. Shaggy's been grinding that wheel forever, and it's been a slow growth to where he's at now. But there's not been a lot of people educating out there or doing forums like this. Even G recently new to the social media side of it, right? I mean, and myself as well. I thought about this when I was driving a truck. I thought, man, somebody should come out and kind of record their experience of building this business, and I didn't do it. And then 4, 5, 6 years later, I decided to do it, but there wasn't much out there as far as good quality information. So if that would have been there, I probably would have been more successful.
There's plenty of value information
I had
out
much
there.
success until it started happening. You know, in the beginning, it was just grinding it out and learning everything the hard way. I'm almost one of those people that I have to go bang my head on the wall, even though they say it's not a good idea, just to figure out it's not a good idea. And you know, I've done it all. So
You know, it was always
just sticking with it and being resilient, I think. And even though you do something wrong, trying to recover and always do what you say you're going to do. Be honest. That's made us have the longevity that we've had. Is just you know, trying to build a good reputation, even if it is with brokers. And I know everybody, as you know, it's brokers versus carrier right now. Heck, I was on the phone earlier trying to get a back haul for a guy. I was trying to negotiate 450 more, and he hung up on me. Didn't even try to, you know, negotiate. So, and that's Landstar for you. So, there's just so many things out there that, you know, if people start educating themselves or looking at forums like this, then they'll be a lot better off than I was. You know, so I think just sticking with it has been the best thing, and just trying to, you know, take every little piece I can and learn everything the hard way. But man, I've had trucks blow up, trucks break down, you know, trailer. I mean, you name it, we've had it happen. So just grinding it out, I think, is the success. Is just, you know, failure's not an option. Keep trying.
You know, it was always my dad's vision when he started this business 30 years ago to be a trainer. You know, he worked for the ICC. He was a special agent, so he knew what to look for when he was going around to the different trucking companies. And so when he retired, he decided, you know, yes, he's going to help people, and that's, you know, what started Evil Sizer, you know, 30 years ago. But he also, you know, this was, you know, G, you know this was before email, this was before social media, this was before cell phones. We had a fax, we had a desktop computer and a phone, you know, and we were old school. And, you know, and so here's my dad trying to come in and be this educator of trucking. And so we had seminars. We were in a bank building. We had a nice big boardroom where the bank executives met most of the time. And so we got access to that. And so we brought in people like Trucker's Accountant, you know, John at Trucker's Accountant, Scott Mosgrip from Truck Stop when he was like just starting out. And, you know, and so it was really cool to see, you know, just to know that's where we started was, you know, with 3 pieces of equipment that cost like 10 grand total, which was a lot of money back then. And how we can just pop on the internet and, you know, people can look at their, you know, 3 foot or 3 inch by 6 inch phone and get educated. So it's awesome that we can reach more people now with the tools that they need versus having to send them a packet or, you know, have these big expensive conferences. And I've seen a big difference, and I still see issues with truckers trying to get things done too quickly. You know, it's like, well, you know, they may be active today and they want to start running on Tuesday, and it's like, whoa, wait, you know, and especially with COVID, because, you know, Texas, their state offices are not open.
Yep.
They're just not. You cannot get tags, you know, here in Texas.
Anyway, we got her through that. She got herself through that. She fought through.
Hallelujah.
Yep, she's got her deal. So throwing out one of our clients that we've both been working on trying to get her plates. So she had a receipt for title for a new truck, and trying to get the IRPs is a pain in the rear. Plus you got to send off for IFTA to Austin. So you got a whole bunch of, you know, people just don't realize, and then you get the COVID thing, closing things down, and they don't operate the same way they used to. So guys, you know, when Penny's talking about this too soon stuff, I guess I'll throw in my 2 cents.
Yeah,
you know, I posted, or I sent off to one of our affiliates here, the process of if you fail an audit, what's got to be done in the timeline. And this is right off the FMCSA site. This has nothing to do with me making anything up. And we get guys that fail audits, you know, because they don't listen, or they come to us after they fail the audit. They want us to rush through, get them back up and running, provide the corrective action plan, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if either one of you have ever had to do a corrective action plan, but it takes time. Okay, it doesn't happen. And if they put you out of service on something, you could be out of service for 30 days minimum. So you guys need to know that, yeah, hey, we're here to help. But don't be a knucklehead about it, you know. And as Aaron said, you know, some truckers are knuckleheads. I'm a knucklehead. I learned the hard way a lot of times. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you know, you've got the resources on this social media. You've got Penny, who's 30 years knowledgeable in this industry on most avenues of anything to do paperwork-wise or compliance-wise. You've got CCS. We work with fans hand in hand. We manage drivers. We sit there and we'll, you know, we just did an orientation for a few of Aaron's drivers here last weekend. I don't know, did Courtney ever say anything about it? I had him cracking up in the whole thing.
He said you guys were great, man. Everybody I've talked to so far in the company loves you guys, so it's been good.
Well, at the end of the day, but we have to implement new procedures for, and a little stricter procedures to ensure that as Aaron's company grows, it's growing in the right manner and we're not going to get into trouble down the road. So those are the kind of things we do, and we're hands-on with that. So, you got Shaggy and you got Tom at Operify. You've got all of these resources in our group that will spend time. Nick and Alex Panagakos on insurance, all of us. I mean, heck, Trucker G stopped his truck. He's sitting here with us right now. Basically, we want him to. I want to give him a shout out. I mean, this guy's sitting here taking time out of his day. Aaron's taking time out of his day. He rushed through a meeting to get on and to share some knowledge. So, guys, let me shut up. You share knowledge.
Well, go ahead, G. Tell them what you're
I gotta do this interview.
Yeah, I'm having a real hard time hearing. I don't know if it's everybody's deal or just mine, but it's really digital and I can't understand.
Come back out, come back in. That helps me every time. I just come out and come in, and it seems to fix it sometimes.
Yeah, let me try that. Let me try that.
Okay.
Are you on the Wi-Fi at the hotel, Penny? Is that it?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that might be a part of the audio.
Yeah, it might be because he's off his phone. I don't know where he's at area-wise or something. Could be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not having any issues on this end.
No, I hear a little digitally, but I think he's stuck on.
I hear it a little bit digitally, but it's not really bad. I mean, I'm still good, so I don't know.
So, do we have any questions going for Trucker G, Aaron, anybody?
Not so far.
Yeah, probably got a few for when he comes back on. How does he build a following of 10,000?
That's a good one.
I'm back.
Is it better?
I think so.
For you.
We'll hope for the best. But
So Aaron has a question for you.
This is aside from trucking, but how do you build a following of 10,000 or whatever? From is it organic? Did you pay? Did you put a lot of work in? Did you hire a company, or is it just been because you guys are so likable?
It was a lot of work and organic. I didn't pay to do it, but it was a lot of work.
Okay.
I mean, when I first started off, I had people calling me just about everything in the book until I built a following of people that actually liked what I had to say, I guess.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually ran across you a while back. Just a random thing popped up, and I started following you guys. And then I was talking to Shaggy, and I've known Shaggy for years, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my buddy." I was like, "That's funny." I see you guys pictures. You went down there or something and met up with him, and I was like, "That's funny that they know each other."
Yeah, I talk Shaggy on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Shaggy for a minute. What you think of his training, G? You got 29 years in the business. What do you think what do you think of his training? Honest Injun.
As far as Shaggy goes, he knows his stuff. I mean, I've been doing this for 29 years, and that guy's he's taught me a lot. And I've got Mrs. G that's fixing to go through his webinar just so she can learn more.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy's made a huge difference. When I took his first course, one of the first ones he did on the road back, I don't know, it's been a couple years ago or whatever, but it really was an eye-opener. And he's our business has there's no way we could have done it and been where we're at today without Shaggy. I think I have 3 or 4 guys still with me that he referred to us as owner-operators. And we've had, I don't know, 8 or 10 over the years, so
yeah,
it's definitely good for our business. He's an awesome guy.
And are you running your own dedicated lane there, G? You have your own dedicated freight customers?
Yeah, I've got a contract freight is what I haul, and that's great right now. I mean, I don't have to deal with these low rates that are going around,
Right.
So now when things are booming, I'm not doing as good as some of the others, but I'll take the slow and steady all day long. I haul meat. I actually have a contract with Cargill.
Reefer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Aaron, you've got some relationships you built over the last little bit of time, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely. When I met Shaggy, we were doing everything off load boards. I mean, I was just going crazy. And I'm still on them all the time, but we've definitely built some relationships that have helped out. And even with brokers, a lot of people that, this whole broker feud thing, I would say, in my opinion, there's probably a good, I'd give them 50-50. It might be a little worse. It might be 60-40, but there's at least 40% of brokers that I have good relationships with that are honest and honorable. and the rest of them do suck. And but we've made some provisions now to go that route and partner and own a brokerage where we can control the freight. And it'll really help out in our company. I've been wanting to do it for years. I don't know why it's taking me so long. Again, I'm a knucklehead, but we're finally making those steps to where we can get in front of it and not behind it. So we're not chasing it necessarily. Even with relationships that we have, as small as we are, it's really tough to service customers if you have less than, say, 50 trucks. Because even though we run regional, Midwest, and Southeast mostly, with customers that we have, I can usually get a truck on something within about a day, day and a half. So if they need something right now, it's hard for me to take care of them. So then that relationship isn't as strong as you want it because they're looking, in between other places too. But we have a few customers that call us for everything they do, and they might move, anywhere from 1 to 20 loads a month.
Good. I'm just curious because you're running Hotshot. That's a little different freight, and you're keeping yourself busy. And you've got drivers out there making a living. Nobody's complaining. So
I've been very fortunate. I've got a couple of guys that took out a notebook, and everywhere they went, they said, hey, especially in their backyard where they live, they just said, hey, I live here, and it was for new brokers or whatever, or we were in and out of there all the time. Hey, can we go direct on this or whatever? So now they call even my drivers, and then my driver says, hey, I just booked this load, send it over. And they have their own little relationship that they've built throughout different areas, for whether it be tractors. I have a guy that does windmill parts out of Florida, and Florida's tough. So that was great for him, a lot of little implements and stuff. And so we do a lot of wide load and oversized stuff. So that stuff has been really helpful. And just having those key, even if it's just 1 or 2 here and there, to go direct helped us out a lot. Put more money in our pockets and made it way easier.
And G, you run pretty much solo, and you have for how long now?
I've always, pretty much always. I mean, except for when I was back doing training for the solo. But if you want to consider Mrs. G, she's always on the truck with me.
Out rolling. So we get guys when, Penny will know this, when you get a brand new authority coming in, there's those guys, as I like to say, that want to ride off into the sunset and haul their own freight, not work for the man, do their own thing. Then there's those that want to build a company and a successful enterprise, get 5, 10, 20 trucks in their fleet and make, and then there's those others that want to conquer the world. But at the end of the day, you got different people coming into this business for different reasons. So where you're a guy that's run your own freight for a long time and just you and your wife, what would be your advice to somebody just coming on in and saying, hey, you know what, I just kind of want to ride off and do my own thing? What's the best way they handle it?
That goes right back to asking questions and actually have a platform where you can get information like this one here. If I'd had access to the information that we do now and new people like Bob and Penny and Shaggy, I mean, shoot, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'd probably be at home or on an island in the Bahamas or somewhere. I wouldn't have to work anymore. So I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Bahamas.
I do want to go to the Bahamas too. Are you going to leave us behind?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's hit it up. So when you're talking about getting started, guys, what we recommend is obviously this group is all about, and we handle, as you can see, in this group, we have a mesh of different types of companies. We've got companies that have 20, 30, 40 trucks in their fleet that are watching Shaggy's, Facebook group. They're watching his trainings. They're signing up for his dispatching, broker, or trucking training. We got guys that have, 1 truck and they just want to know how to gain their own freight. They go through the dispatching and the mapping and all of that. So, when you start looking at, how to come into the industry, you have a wealth of knowledge. Invite your friends that are looking or thinking about coming to trucking. Okay. Get them some of this knowledge before they start spending their money. I mean, I don't want their dollar for drug and alcohol compliance or any of that crud until they know what they're doing. Honestly, I just had this conversation with one of our affiliates named Dan. Maybe y'all know him. But Dan said, sometimes I hear him on the phone and I almost want to tell him, go lease on with somebody because it just doesn't sound like they know what they're doing. And there's those that, and I told Dan this, I said, so ask a few questions. Why'd you get into trucking is a very big question. Why are you in this? Okay. And then they say, well, I want to build a trucking company. Okay. What's your business experience? Okay. Because trucking is a business. It is not me driving my truck and I know everything about it. in developing other drivers and paying for other drivers and getting my own freight, or doing all of my bill of ladings that were done for me by the previous company I drove for, or getting a factoring company, or even knowing where to go for that, or insurance, or anything else. It's a business that you need to take seriously, and you need the information before you spend your dollars. You can waste a lot of money on this, up front. I don't know if Aaron, you said he learned from the school of hard knocks.
Man, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, man. I think our biggest battle, and I tell that to everybody that calls me, asks me any kind of questions. What? Like Shaggy's always saying, what do you want? Where do you need to be? Because everybody's different. Everybody could have a new truck, used truck, paid for trailer. Single, live on the road, have a big house at home, bunch of kids, bunch of bills. There's so many different variations of where do you want to be. But I'll tell you what, man. I think my biggest struggle in this business has not been driving or getting the freight or establishing relationships and customers. Our biggest fights have been with insurance companies, with the business side of it, financing, getting the trucks, the back end, the safety, the drug and alcohol, all the tougher stuff, the logs, DOT. Those things have been way tougher, I think, than just trying to say, hey, I can haul your load. I think that stuff is way easier, and it's so much easier than trying to actually do the business side of things. It's so much more difficult. So if you don't have a business background, you've worked at Walmart your whole life or whatever, now I'm not doubting it, but you may want to really get some education or lease on with somebody and learn. I wish I would have done that. In almost every industry, I've had several businesses. I have a car dealership, construction companies, and I wish going back, instead of trying to do it through the school of hard knocks and end up in things. I mean, I've had litigation and everything. Going to work for somebody who knows how to do it right, and then step out on your own after like G's been doing it a long time, and he may weigh his options. Should I start my own thing, if I wanted to, or should I just stay where I'm at, depending on what he wants to do? But he definitely has the knowledge now, I think, to step out if he wanted to, whereas some people may not want to. They're comfortable. They just want to be leased on, go home, and drive their truck, and that's perfectly fine too. But I think that's been my biggest struggle, is the business side of it. Even though I have good business acumen, it's tough. I think that's tougher than just getting loads and hauling it down the road. It's tough.
Well, everything's on you as a business owner. So even though maybe one of your drivers gets pulled over, you're the one responsible, and it's going to go on your DOT record. And that's, you can't just erase that. And then that guy can go somewhere else. Okay, fine. That's what they do as drivers sometimes. But, are you willing to take the responsibility and properly train and trust this guy? And you've got, there is certain steps that you need to be sure and vet him to make sure he's going to be a good driver. But you still really don't know till he's out there working for you.
And that's true. We've even vetted people, and we had a very good bunch of guys, and we had, unfortunately, just bad luck, I guess, or whatever. We had 3 accidents in 1 month. Now, luckily, they were all fender benders, and the truck stopped backing in at night or whatever. They were tired or whatever. But still, the insurance companies looked at all those on our loss runs, and they have a percentage in which they want you to stay depending on the size of carrier you are. They want it to be under 30% losses in order to keep you. And then there's other carriers that say, no, we want him off our book of business. He's a liability. So we had real problems after those 3 little tiny fender benders, and they were just ridiculous, to get insurance and stay in business. Those have been our biggest fights, I think. And those were good guys, and they were just tired. It was an accident. But that's the kind of stuff that being a business owner has made me really think, man, sometimes I'd like to just get back in my truck and go on the road and say, forget it,
Right off with you.
Yeah.
So Penny brought this up a little bit about people rushing. Okay. So I'm going to expound upon that. If you aren't doing proper diligence on your hires, okay, and I mean PSP report, of course, make sure their CDL's clean from the FMCSA, they pass their inspections, set a threshold there. But orientations when you're bringing in drivers, if you're going to build a company, this is part of business, guys. Yeah. I mean, if you go to work at Taco Bell, you got to go through a hiring process, and it includes an orientation and a company handbook.
Yeah.
Why do you think a trucking company should be less than what Taco? Do you think there's less risk with driving an 80,000-pound rig down the road?
Oh gosh.
You should be doing your road test. You should be going the checklist. You should be doing all this stuff before you put that driver behind the wheel. But I get so many people that are rushing that process. So, let's not rush the process. Did we lose G?
Yeah, it might be trying to come back on something static or something.
Gotcha.
Maybe he'll come back.
I hope so. We need some. Well, he might have had to drive down the road too. So it doesn't make it G. We appreciate you coming, but hopefully you come back.
Hopefully.
Probably.
All right. So, we're doing that now with a lot of your company, Aaron. I mean, we're going back and going to make sure that all this stuff gets squared away, and going forward that all this process doesn't get rushed. You make it as quick as possible with hiring a driver, but you're looking at, if I'm the guy running the company, I'm going to tell my guys when they interview or they fill out an application, shows up at my doorstep, and I do a brief phone interview. All right, we got to do our proper checks and balances, our backgrounds. So go ahead and send me over a copy of your CDL. I'm going to send you out this form. We're going to run a PSP, get our backgrounds in. And this, once we get that, we'll set up an orientation, which is probably 2 to 3 weeks before you're actually driving for us. Okay? How does that sound? And they're going to go, I wanted to get on today because they're broke. Right now, if that guy says I need to be driving tomorrow, he's broke. He's asking you for a draw probably. Okay? If you tell a guy 2 to 3 weeks and he's got a problem, you're going to find out real quick right there. Okay? Yep. So it would be a good method of hiring. Can you get on with Landstar in less than 2 weeks? Can I be driving for Landstar as an owner-op?
These companies, and that's the thing. There he is. He's back.
Hey, there we are. Yeah, so if I'm an owner-op one,
I don't know what's going on with the signal. It's really digital, and it's freezing up, guys. I'm probably going to have to back out here because most of this I haven't been able to hear.
I'm sorry, G. So hey, here's
loud and clear, man.
Here's the thing, guys. Visit truckerg.net. Look him up on Facebook. He's a great resource for info. We're hoping that you guys are watching this. He's part of our group also, and I know he makes himself available just out of the kindness of his heart.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, guys. Aaron, reach out to me, man. Let me talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll shoot you a call. Send me a message.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
I followed you a couple times, but send me a message and I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to find you, man. That's the thing. I'm technology.
I'm one of the other ones. I go by Aaron the Trucker Guy Moneypenny.
Okay, Aaron the Trucker. I got you.
Aaron the Trucking Guy Moneypenny. Yep. So truckerg.net, that's his website. You can follow some of his stuff. You can click the link there. It'll take you to his Facebook page, guys. He's worth the subscription. Trust me, he's always helping folks.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, guys. Like I said, if I'd have been able to hear, I probably would have been a better interview.
You're good, man. We appreciate you.
Okay, I'll call you back another day.
We'll do it again.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Drive safe. All right. So going back to hotshots, guys, there's a whole lot of people that don't succeed in the hotshot world. They step in.
I would say that the statistics of people getting their own authority. Me and Shaggy have talked about this a couple times, and for the in and out authorities, Bob, you may know some more, even you. But it's probably like 86% of just people getting their own authority and getting out of it. They're not set up right, or they didn't have the right plan, going into it. But Shaggy says this is a stamps it to death. I think it's true, but even in hotshot, I think it's even worse because they have this idea that, and a lot of it, the same way I get into it. I was roofing a friend of mine's house, and he was doing this and been doing it for 15 years, hotshot, and he was hauling all AC units, making $3-4 a mile, same company, same route. And I thought, man, that's good money. All I got to do is buy some trucks. And I was kind of slow in the wintertime with construction, and I had a few trucks, and I thought, man, I'll just grab some trailers, hook them to these dualies, and put them to work. Well, they were older trucks, and they blew up, and yada, yada. And I told you about the DOT situations, and I didn't know what I was doing. So not having a plan, not educating myself is the same thing. And the way that I came into it, that I think 99% of hotshot guys get into it. They think it's easy. They think they can buy a truck that they can use at home to get groceries or take mom out or whatever, or haul their motorcycle around and do this as well. And it's just not. This is professional, and this is to be treated just like a semi. And they don't take it serious like that, the same way I didn't, until I got into it, and I got either, I was going to be pushed out or forced to conform to do it the right way, which we finally did. And it's tough, So I think that's what they come into it with not enough education with hotshot anyway. I know there's a lot of truck drivers that go by trucks. Most of them have been either owner-operators or worked for somebody or, vice versa. But with hotshots, a lot of them have no education in the trucking industry at all. They come from a different background. I see it all the time on the hotshot forums.
I had a guy that called the other day, and he just happened to have a pickup out in the back, back 40, the dually. And so a friend of his said, "Oh, you should get the trucking business." Well, so, I chatted with him, and I thought, this might be more than you're willing to invest in. It's not just I can, start tomorrow and, and make a lot of money. Granted, he, uses it's a work truck that he uses for something else that COVID shut down, but it's not as simple as, oh, let's just start this.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand Robert Terrell's question here. Trucking insurance owner has 35 years trucking experience. What do I need to get started? Trucking insurance owner has 35 years trucking experience. So are you trying to start a company, Robert? A trucking company? Yeah, otherwise it's Nick Panagakos if you're looking for insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And I like
one of our biggest battles. I mean, we've had Progressive, Berkshire Hathaway, a couple different companies, and they don't care. You're just a number to them. It doesn't matter if you have 50 trucks or 10 trucks. They don't care. They just want premium, premium, premium. And it took us a long time to find a really good person to get with that we have now that'll go to bat for us. And why would they want to go to bat to save you money when they get paid, off a premium that they sell? So that's been tough. We found a guy that's luckily, I've been in that where we just went through a neural Bob knows, and I was like, hey man, I'm leaving. You either figure this out or I'm leaving. I want to expand. I want to stay with you. You're a great guy, but if you can't save me money, can't keep me in business, I'm out of here. So we had to make some serious adjustments to be able to do that. But that's been one of our biggest struggles, especially in Hotshot, because it goes everywhere up and down all year. You might have good, you might have bad, and or have claims, something small. Like I had a guy, he hit a tire in the middle of the road. The tire bumped up and smacked a Walmart trailer, right? And that went on our stuff. So, and it wasn't even really his fault. He had nothing he could do. It was just in the road, So there's so many things that happen in trucking. I think that if you don't have any education, I tell guys all the time, especially in Hotshot, go lease onto somebody. Go work for somebody, drive their truck, get some familiarity with the industry before you go buy a big, $65,000, $70,000 truck plus a trailer, and then as soon as you get authority, you have no experience with the business side of it, which we were talking about, booking loads and so on. And they call me all the time. We lease them on. Their friends told them they make $3-4 a mile in West Texas, and they'll come on and just seriously, you make $1.60 a mile doing Hotshot average to $2, and you make $4,000 to $5,000 a week revenue, and you need to pay truck, trailer, insurance, etc. And they're like, oh, I ain't gonna make any money with you, because their first week they made $4,000 and they didn't know how to run their hours, run an ELD or whatever. Maybe they made $3,500. So they're like, I'm gonna go open my own authority. That's the worst idea, in my opinion, that you could do. You didn't even make it a week or 2 weeks. Why don't you try after 3 or 4 months to get a real timeline? Because a week or 2 weeks is not a good indicator of what's real.
Small sample size. Yep, small sample size.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they you know what they do? And this has happened at least 9 times in the years that I've had my business. They sign on. They think they're not making any money. They open their own authority, and then they offer to sell me their truck and trailer within 6 months.
Yep.
They're getting out of it.
Yep. And that's
just the reality of it.
That is a big problem in our industry right now, is guys that get fed false information. Okay. None of what Shaggy teaches, guys, he's teaching you a plan for success. It's a long-term plan. This is not a short-term plan. This is not a, I'm going to get rich next week or next month. Right. This is a grind. So you're going to hear, Shaggy tell you it. He's going to tell you how to build out a company, get owner-operators, how you have to take care of those owner-operators so that they're making enough money to double their household income, so they're paying their bills and happy to run with you, and how to route them back home on a weekend. Now, I've always asked this question since I met Shaggy. If you're a truck driver and you're coming on board, or you want to come on board, or I want to recruit you, and I say, look, here's what you're going to do. Your truck's going to make somewhere around $5,500, $6,000 weekly on gross, okay?
Yeah.
And you're going to be home every weekend, okay? And you're going to be back out, so you get to spend time with your family. And all you got to do is run for us, and we'll sign a fair agreement where I pay for my part, you pay for your part. Are you mad at me? They're not mad, okay? So, definitely too many people wake up and decide they're going to start a trucking company. I agree with that 100%.
Like spur of the moment.
So did Eric on us? Okay, so Robert, if you want to start a trucking company, have you been to Shaggy's training?
You flip it.
Oh, has he got a...
You're on the side.
I'm back on now.
Oh, I see you, man. Thank you.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, so Robert, if you haven't been to Shaggy's training yet, I'm going to suggest you take at least one course. find the one you want, trucking, dispatching, learn how to book your freight. That would be my recommendation. If you have $1 million and you can waste it on mistakes, okay, and you got plenty of money to back up, and you don't need to be paid next week or next month by a broker or a shipper, you got plenty of money sitting, then you can come through the School of Hard Knocks, call Penny, she'll set up your authority, and we'll put you in the mix. But I'm going to give you this warning. Every day on average, there's notices on the FMCSA site that we can pull and look at, public information. Those notices are somewhere between 700 to 900 daily, Monday through Friday, of businesses that are either being shut down, shutting themselves down, insurance is revoked, okay? There's a couple of them that'll be reinstatements, but a fair majority of those 800 to 900 are being put out of business every day. That's 4,000 a week, okay, on average.
That's a bunch.
So, why is that? It's because of all the stuff we're talking about right now, okay? Those are real numbers. If you ever want to see them, hit me up. You can call me. You can call Shaggy. You can call Dan if you're working with Dan. We're not going to blow smoke up your butt. It's not because this isn't a good industry, because Frank Griffin makes plenty of money and he's built a great life over, being a broker and being a truck driver and having a trucking company and having the brokerage and having government freight. Aaron's making a great money doing the same thing. Obviously, Trucker G does. It's a good industry. You just got to do it the right way. You got to come at it straight. If you try to come at it crooked and take shortcuts, it's going to be more painful than you want to experience, more than likely.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. I was actually getting ready to make a video. I've been just kind of, lackadaisical, too busy with work and all these businesses. But I want to make a video about how trucking has been good to me. And I think if you really take it serious and you work hard at it, anybody can be successful at it if you just learn what you need to learn. Like we were talking about a minute ago, or I was talking about, I guess, that the $65,000 truck and the trailer and all that. When these courses like Shaggy, and there's some others out there maybe that, what are they, 500, 1,000, whatever, right? That's peanuts to the amount of money you're going to spend in litigation, DOT, insurance premiums, problems, when you can eliminate those issues taking these courses.
Right. And just being prepared and build a foundation. Yeah. So a house is built from the ground up, guys, not the roof down. They treat it just like that. It's a ground up ordeal. Let's start.
I wish I would have met you right off the bat, Bob, so that I could have had that completed way back in the day, and I would have saved a lot of headaches.
Right. Appreciate that.
I think that holds true to most any business you start. Right. You want to learn as much as you can and not just do it on a shoestring, even though sometimes you do it on a shoestring. But what if something happens, your driver gets into an accident, you got fined, something. You've got to have some cash, the just in case kind of cash. Right. And I don't care if it's trucking. I don't care if you're a chef or, an interior decorator. It all has, it's all a business. And so you need to learn as much as you can to kind of tone down some of those issues.
Yep. And let's just take it serious. One acute violation.
Go ahead. There's a guy on there I was talking to, a Shaggy. I did one of these a while back. It's been maybe 6 months, a year ago. But he was talking about how you can't get in the industry unless you have, 40 grand in the bank and you have a couple credit cards and this and that. And the reality is, I told him, I said, hey, that sounds great in a real world. That's a circle we'll draw. But over here in reality is another circle, right? Mm-hmm. I said, the reality is they had 5-10 grand max, okay? Yep. They put half of that down on a truck. They put a few more down on a trailer. They put the rest into getting the authority, insurance, and all that. And then they have maybe a $4,000 or $5,000 credit card, and that's it. And they burn that in fuel because they got crap loads or didn't have relationships or whatever in the beginning, and a couple tires and things that come up. They bought some straps on the credit card, some binders, chains, talking about Hotshot, flatbed, etc. So they're all the way to the limit out there on the road, right? And they call me every day. I've had so many call me. In fact, Tony, one of my best guys, he called me. A guy that he was leased onto owed him $9,000. And I said, why did you keep running to $9,000? Because he got paid every week, right? That's why I pay after every load, because they need cash flow. But I said, why did you work to $9,000? Why didn't you stop loading his loads, after $3,000? I said, why would you bring it that far out? And there's so many people that call me in that same situation. Can you help me? I need to get rolling. I'm going to go bankrupt, and they're behind on their payments. I had a truck get repoed on one of my loads. They never told me they were behind on payments. It gets repoed. They had told them to take the truck and the trailer and the load to the impound lot. Cost me $1,000. They were supposed to pay me back. Never went back to work for me. or it ended up costing almost $2,000 because I had to dispatch a truck to go get it, have it delivered, pay for his fuel, his deadhead time, etc. So there's things that come up that people don't even think about, and they just go out there, and it's crazy. But that same situation with Tony, for instance, I said, yeah, and he was a really nice guy. He's turned out to be one of our longest guys with us and a great guy. But, he had a load on the trailer that belonged to that guy, and he said, I'm just going to hold it until that guy pays me. But the guy was just, here's 300, 500, 1,000 off of each load instead of giving him the whole thing. And the guy ended up, closing that company, opening up another one, and doing this again and again to people, right?
Yeah.
So I said, look, Tony, I'll take you on, but you got to take that load and deliver it. I don't want it on the trailer with the liability, for whatever I'm going to do. Then we got to get you inspected, DOT, get the paperwork done. It's going to take a couple days. And he was stuck. So I said, okay, front your fuel, you get home, we'll just do it right. I don't want to. And that's the thing. Most of them say, okay, we'll just get you a load. Or, I had a guy call me one time, and he said, well, we do piggybacking in Texas, like Houston. Like, I'll get you a load, you get me a load. I said, what? They said, yeah, that's the thing. I said, so you guys are putting loads on trailers that aren't under that authority? I said, no, I haven't.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yep. Not doing it.
Anybody that would even bring that up, I don't want you working for me, man. That ain't going to work.
Uh-uh.
So, well, I've seen it all. And Tony's been with those periods and knew some of my drivers that he even brought on with us and stuff that had the little fender benders and stuff. And, one guy, I just tried to keep him on, but for the life of me, he had 3 little where he just tinked somebody at a truck stop, and they cost $1,500 for the bumper fix or the door or whatever. And the guy was crying, but I had to let him go. And it was one of those situations that as an owner, that's the business side of it that people don't see, Another example, guy flipped a trailer not that long ago for us, and they sent 2 trucks out. I only needed one. Took them 2 hours to flip it back over, get it back rolling. Luckily, nobody was injured. Nothing happened. It was great. The load wasn't damaged, but it cost $3,300 to get that trailer flipped up for those 2 hours to get it back on the road. And luckily, my owner-operator took care of it, but I thought I was going to have to, cover that expense. And it's things like that they get in and want to lease guys on and build this big company because it sounds great, but you haven't really put your time in. You don't. I drove a truck for 3 years myself, one of my personal trucks, to get more experience. And I learned a lot out there. These brokers and shippers and people that would shut the door on you or just whatever. So there's so much to learn. If you don't get any experience, and you try to open this company and just go out on your own with no experience, I think it's really difficult. And I say that's why most of them go out of business.
So that's why we got Dan here talking about a client of his that dropped his drive shaft. COVID put him behind, 2 months, and then right out the gate, boom, $6,000 in the hole. So these are just incidents. These things happen all the time, guys. And it's not that we're trying to paint a bleak picture. Shaggy is basically, it's reality. But Shaggy takes it. He says, okay, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to bring on an owner operator. We're going to teach you how to get your customers. We're going to teach you how to get off the load board, how to self-dispatch. We're going to teach you all of these things so that you are ahead of the game. Okay.
And I want to bring this up. He does not teach you how to run a dispatch service.
Nope.
He teaches you how to dispatch your own trucks.
Correct. And now you're running the maps right. Now you've got consistent, freight lane. And your income is there so that you can put that owner operator to work and get his truck earning $6,000 a week. That's what it's for. It's to teach you how to do that. And if you can do it once, you can duplicate it. So if you get the pattern down, and that's what his whole trainings are about, is get the patterns down, learn how to duplicate yourself. Okay, if you're a driver, and you're good at, passing inspections, use that to your advantage there to, do all your road tests. Make sure you're doing walk-arounds with the guys when you're orienting them. Going through an orientation. Make sure you do the things you can duplicate, but he gives you the map to duplicate the business model. Okay. Once you've got that business model duplicatable, you can go up to 10, 20, 30 trucks if you want to. And there's some real money in that. Aaron's got 6, 7 running right now. Chuck Watkins, that guy at 402 Transport, he's a beast.
Yeah, okay? He looks like he's doing real well.
I think he's got 8 or 9 drivers now. We got under him. That guy, him and his wife, literally. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that back stuff. He drove for a while. He's pulled himself off the road. He's doing all the good stuff on the front side. That dude just delivered out a trailer for me to a piece of property we bought. And, I was like, man, appreciate you, Chuck. Great guy. Just a shout out to 402 Transport. But he came to Shaggy's class. We're just talking about this is a new company. And again, Hotshots. But he was just in Shaggy's course last August in Dallas. Okay. That's how new he is to this. But he followed the plan. He made took a direction, duplicated himself, and he's got 8 or 9 trucks out there rolling right now. Got a clean
Yeah,
CSA.
it's the same thing with us. You know, we're just a small company. Me and my wife and my father kind of was in on it in the beginning there for a while. But you know, Shaggy was a huge proponent in us not going out of business, man. Because I had 4 company trucks that I owned with drivers in them that were just tearing them up, not wanting to drive, wanting to be home more than they wanted to be out on the road because they were. And I was paying them really good, so they would go out and make, you know, 1,000, 1,500, $2,000, even sometimes $3,000 in a week because this is back when the rates were really up, and they would just sit at home for 1 or 2 weeks, and I couldn't hardly get them to go out or whatever, you know. And we're tearing up the trucks. I had a ton of maintenance issues, and between the payments and the insurance and all the things, I was going broke. And Shaggy said, "Man, you need to get rid of those and get owner operators." So we switched our whole business model, and I was scared. I thought, man, if I get rid of these trucks, what am I going to do? You know, I've worked so hard to buy these trucks and trailers, and I was scared, you know. So we finally did it and shifted to a more of an owner operator focused company, and it changed our whole business plan. I handle all of the stuff that they don't want to do. You know, that's why they don't want to own their own authority: payroll, money, the factoring, the compliance. The I'm the middleman for the problems between them and the shipper or the broker or whatever. And you know, they love it. And our guys have been with us for a long time. They're all happy. And there's just a certain fit for everybody. If you've never done it, I think you'd be better off going and signing on with somebody that has freight, can sell, has customers, not necessarily load board guys, but that's moving stuff, that keeps you in a good reason, that keeps you safe, that's worried about your compliance and your truck being, you know, having tires on it and things like that, and you'll be more successful. That's how our guys have been able to stay with us for so long. Because you hear so many bad stories about them leasing on with this guy. Oh, he owes me. They call me all the time. Can I lease on with you? You know, off of Facebook. This guy owes me $3,000, $6,000, $5,000, whatever. And you know, there's all these little mom and pops that spent the money in Vegas or whatever, and they're not paying their drivers. They're not doing it right, or the factoring company didn't pay them, or the load they didn't credit check it, and they put them in a bind, or whatever the situation is. You know.
Yeah.
So.
And we have a lot of people in this.
Do it than just driving a truck.
Yeah, and a lot of people within Shaggy's group here that are accepting owner operators. So if you got a truck and you're thinking about opening your authority and you need the experience from what we've said, the people that are involved in Shaggy's group that have gone through his training, that'd be a nice place to start probably. I mean, they'd probably accept a good driver that has a CDL and all those things. I know Aaron probably accept a Hotshot if he come in clean, and he probably get you out there making it.
Or whatever. We'd love to bring him on right now.
But but
there's some others. That Chuck seems like he's killing it, man. He'll probably take you. You know, if you got a good record and stuff. I mean,
but I'm talking about even dry vans or reefers or any of that. We've got, you know, if you come in power only, we've got people that'll dispatch you out to have that kind of freight. So just understand you're surrounding. You're surrounding yourself with people who have done what you're trying to do. And you know, auto import transport intel guys, you know, he's a very good guy with car hauling. That guy's probably top notch there. And at the end of the day, you just want to get the right experience and training. Okay. Yeah. And that's the key. And if you
I like that question a minute ago said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when things will happen. And that's true. I bought a brand new truck, and at 50,000 miles, the motor blew up, and we took care of it perfectly. Now, you know, they put a new motor in it. It was still under warranty, but it took them 2 months. What are you going to do with 2 months of downtime with no revenue? I was a one truck guy then. You know, what are you going to do when you factor a load and you're doing load board stuff in the beginning? This happened to me, and I was tight. I was in California. It was like a $6,600 load or something, and we factor it. And right before I get delivered, the factoring company reviewed their credit and denied them. Right before I deliver it, they credit checked on the front end, but when we go to submit it, they won't do it now because they went under review and they had some that were, you know, no good. So what are you guys going to do out there and you don't have any money, guys, and you're 66 in the hole or whatever? So there's so many situations. Not a matter of if, it's when, and it will happen.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a matter of when.
Years, we had probably 10 trucks towed from breakdowns or transmission or out of.
And that brings us to one of our other partners, Kevin at Rig Nation. You know, having a roadside assistance program. I'm going to bring up another one here. I know that Shaggy's working on this with another partner that has Legal Shield. Okay. You guys ask about data queues all the time. How can I get this off my CSA? How can I do this? You know, we do corrective action plans. I can get your CSA score to improve. It does take time. It isn't an immediate fix. So you just get that, you know, depending upon the situation, every situation is different. But if I've got a guy that's got Legal Shield and I get all my drivers to get Legal Shield, okay, guess what? You can now dispute a ticket.
Put that down for us, Bob.
I can now dispute that ticket, and if I, you know, get that ticket dismissed there at the courthouse in whatever state that citation was written, guess what? Now I have grounds for a data queue. Without that, I don't have grounds for a data queue. You have to prove to the FMCSA that
Yeah.
this was done in error. So when you beat it on one end, then we can take it and we get it removed on the other. We are upgrading, and I'm just going to tell you, in our safety plan, guys, if you're going to work with us, and if you are going to come to us and have us manage your drivers, you're going to use the right ELD. Okay, end of story. We're just not going to play around. I want to know about harsh driving. I want to know about, speeding. I want to know about everything. And so there are some ELDs, which brings us to Geotab. Okay, Geotab and Fleet Shield, they have the right program. And and at the end of the day,
that's because of me, right?
it is. Okay, if we're going to be able to manage you, then we need to see what's going on with those drivers, and we need to be proactive. You should want to be proactive. If you're not proactive,
we do. So
yeah,
we're making that shift.
No, I'm not even jumping on you. I'm talking about anybody in this that's listening. Anybody's going to see this down the line. Okay, we do driver management, but if you're not going to be proactive about this and you're not going to give us the right tools to manage, then we're just not going to accept the contract. Simply put, it just becomes too much headache. We don't get the right tools. It's not going to be where we're doing a job as efficiently as it should be. Okay, so it's more about making sure everything's correct. You need a safety department. We're here for you, but let's do things the right way. It isn't going to cost you much more, if any more, to use the right ELD versus the cheap one you get wherever. Okay, there are plenty of programs that are out there that have the right tools for you through the ELD system. Samsara and Geotab, they all have them, but they have a little white box methods that go out there. It's like building a computer. You might put your name on that computer and it's got some crappy Dell parts in it. Okay. Same thing with ELDs, guys. There's crappy companies out there, slap a thing on, they put out a device out there that's a cheaper than normal device that you'd get, and it looks all wonderful because it says it's using this system, but they've turned off all of the functionality of those systems for the cheap versions. So do you understand it's the programming behind the ELD, Keep Trucking, Samsara, Geotab, they all have that right programming. And that helps along the lines of keeping your driver straight. That could trigger things like corrective measures or proactive measures, versus corrective. And if I'm proactive on this, now your driver's getting a re-education before he makes the mistake and costs you money or a CSA violation. Okay?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Another thing is we put in, and maybe Aaron's going to want this now, made a little change to this on violations, Aaron. Okay. The changes are, and Aaron froze up, I think, on me.
Oh, or he went to sleep.
Yeah, he's not sleeping. He froze up. When he comes back, I'll tell him. So one of the changes we've made here, okay, on some of the repercussions in our employee agreements and lease agreements is for acute violations. Okay, acute violations we're ranking as an 8-point violation or more, and those are going to be a little more scrutinized than a standard violation like a 2-pointer or a 1-pointer or whatever. So when we're managing your drivers, we're going to write in the driver sign-off pages that acute violations are a bad thing. So anybody gets an 8-point violation, out of services are a bad thing. So this gets signed off by your drivers so that they know we're paying attention to those types of things. And more so than the little onesie twosie point things. We don't want the onesie twosies. Of course, we want good clean inspections. But those 8-pointers, those 7-pointers with 2 points for an out of service on top of them, those are the ones that hurt the companies. Okay, those are the ones that are going to ultimately the authority's going to suffer from. So we're going to make sure that when we're managing your drivers, guys, that we're managing them. We're not just sitting there going, okay, he doesn't have any log violations today, yay! It's going to be a whole thing. And so you got to take that part seriously, because this is what will increase your insurance. This is what will cost you loads. This is what's going to put you out of business in the big picture if you continue to flow in a bad direction on this. So,
you guys can do everything. You can do everything right and have things still happen to you that you weren't prepared for. That's just bad luck, bad timing, whatever, and it'll put you out of business. Because our first insurance company came at us and said, "You guys are a liability over the 3 little accident things, fender benders I told you about. We're dropping you with no notice. Hey, find somebody else within the next 30 days. See you later." There was nothing we could do. And luckily we found somebody else and we kept it moving. But there was, when you're in Hotshot in your first year, or any new authority in the first year, don't even have to be Hotshot. They just look at you like, no, not enough experience, and it sucks. That's one of our plague problems in trucking is the high insurance problems. Some of the brokers taking advantage, especially right now, I think, in this opinion, and we're in a pandemic, but also the regulation there's some stuff that could be eliminated. I'm a fan of ELDs. I know some guys aren't. I've been able to make money with it, and it hasn't deterred us. And I'll be honest with you, before them, me and some of my guys were running illegal, tired, long hours. So I would rather have them in place. But yeah,
I
definitely.
had a guy I went to church with, old trucker.
Not managing those safety, situations, or even truck maintenance or whatever, is just going to put you out of business.
Yeah, I had a guy, and he's in my one of my friends on Facebook. He's a church member from like 5, 6, 8 years ago, and we still keep in contact. But he's an old truck driver, and he told me back when I drove, and he probably started in like 72, and he said back when I drove, we just take some of those mini thins. I was driving 18. I remember one time I drove from here to there, and he's talking about 20-hour ventures and 28-hour ventures, and I'm like, man, dude. And so yes, I understand the thinking that you do as much as you can, but there is a level of safe and not safe when you're driving an 80,000-pound rig. Okay, it just takes one thing that I kind of feel bad for the guy that's in Indiana that's sitting in a jail cell right now. Okay, that plowed through the back end of family's car, killed a few people, and it happened out in Indiana, and it happened last year or 2019 early part, and then he went into jail at the beginning of this year or the end of last. And they got him because
they'll take down the company owner as well. That's what some people don't realize.
But this guy, all he did was
take on all the responsibility.
All he did was put down his coffee cup. Okay, it takes that long for something stupid to happen, and they got him for the reason he went to jail. They threw the book at this guy because people are dead. You got blood-sucking attorneys, you name it. You got mothers against mothers against drunk driving that go out and rally, and then they get everybody stirred up into a frenzy, and all of a sudden you're the target. So this guy gets written up for unattentive driving. He didn't have a cell phone in his hand. He simply put it. He was reaching for his coffee cup, looked down long enough that he plowed into somebody, and so ELDs, they help with that a little bit because maybe he was tired. I don't know.
I've been on the road, man, and I've had, just in the 3 years that I drove consistently and lived on the road, I had seen 5 to 8 accidents happen in front of me, and I've also had probably almost been hit a dozen times by semis, dump trucks, people not paying attention, texting and driving cars as well. And I've luckily dodged all of that, but it's a very dangerous job, and people need to take it more serious than just jumping on a truck and saying, cowboy, it is what it is. We'll do whatever we want. They need to take it serious. And when I was driving, like we were talking about earlier, I knew how long it took to get from California to Arkansas straight and stuff like that. I don't know how I learned it, but I figured it out. But, there's certain situations that if I look back on it, if that person was doing that and my family was on the road and something happened, it's not worth the risk, guys. The money isn't worth it. Driving to make that extra $2,000 or whatever, it's not worth it. It's not, because there's always going to be something that takes it down the road. A DOT officer gets you, puts you out of service, whatever. But
there's also
I gotta go. I appreciate you,
Aaron. We're good. We're about to sign off, brother. Hey, check out Aaron at the Real Trucking Guy. Aaron at #Real Trucking Guy.
Hashtag the Real Trucking Guy. I appreciate you guys.
Money Penny Trucking Guy.
Love the content.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Gosh,
no problem.
Thanks for coming.
Yep. I know I talk fast. It's just a bad habit from being on the phone with these guys.
I can't imagine you and Shaggy in the same room.
Ooh, it's fun. It's fun. Let me tell you, Bob got to witness it. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. All right.
But anyway, thank you guys so much. We'll catch you again, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Take care, sir.
Bye.
I want to end that ELD conversation with one thing. Shaggy teaches you how to run your ELDs, or your trucks are plenty profitable. There's no reason to not. So part of those courses we keep promoting here. And trust me, I'm not sitting here, just saying Shaggy, Shaggy, Shaggy for no reason. Okay. He's got a plan. There's plenty of guys you can go on YouTube and look up. There's just so much bad information. In my opinion, and I don't drive a truck, but in my opinion, I've sat through his courses. I've seen what he teaches. I've seen how he builds out the model, and it's the way to success. There's just not another way that I can see somebody doing better than what he teaches.
And just know, if you're in a lawsuit, that's where what we see is the law is the summons that comes across our desk as a process server. And we just got one the other day that was like this thick, and it was detailing the ELDs. So these plaintiffs' attorneys are learning that, okay, I want you to prove this to me. and I want to, I want to see this data, and and it was very detailed, and it was the first one I've seen that was that detailed. Then we had another summit come across. I kid you not, there was 19 different packets. It came in a box, and Andrea, scanned every single page, bless her heart, and took all day, so we would have a copy and then send it on. But these plaintiffs' attorneys are not playing around.
And
so,
you got those guys out on I-70 and all the corridors basically that they're focusing on trucking.
Yeah.
It's the new ambulance chase.
It is.
Because
it is.
Truckers supposedly have money. Trucking companies have money.
Yeah.
They're hoping to catch that big fish, that does enough damage. Companies like Swift, they can afford to self-insure,
Right.
and they'll settle. Right. But can you really afford to have some big, large claim on, lawsuit on you? If
the one with the 19 packets was they were suing for $200,000 because there was an injury.
Gotcha. And so at the end of the day, guys, know that those guys are out there. And that's why you set the structure up correctly from start to finish. The foundation, once you have this education, we're part of the foundational team here where we're setting your business up. Well, you can talk to Frank Griffin. His son's an attorney. He's on Shaggy Shows on Wednesday. He'll tell you straight away that the only way to protect your company truly is not an LLC, but a corporation. Hey, Shane, how you doing?
Yeah. And, don't be so chintzy that you think the application is a piece of cake. Because I saw this last, a couple weeks ago, somebody sent in referred this gal to me, and so we talked at length. Well, then she decided to go to some cheapo company, and I looked it up. They screwed it up. They just screwed it up royally. They put their address on, they put their phone number on, and not the client. I thought the client was out of Texas, and this company's out of Florida, and it was like, what the heck? So don't be cheap on that one because it's going to cost you more in the long run.
Same thing with LegalZoom, guys. We've had carriers. They use LegalZoom to start their little LLCs or whatever. $149, whatever LegalZoom charges. It varies. And I've had LegalZoom where we've literally had to start a whole nother company. LegalZoom put themselves as the registered agent, themselves as the owner of the corporation. So, the lady, it was just amazing. We go back and we start looking at, okay, how is this? So they wanted to control the renewal. They were going to charge her every year to file.
No.
And so there's companies that will do that. I think DOT Authority was one that put all that renewal stuff in their language. So, understand that there's people that will take their time, help you get through the process, and do it legitimately. And of course, Penny's in business, the Evil Sizer's in business because they do charge for their services, but they do everything correct. You're not going to have any problems with your authority, your BOC3, any of that stuff, any of the filings. When she does it, we charge for our services also because, hey, we have to. We've got employees to maintain the driving. So just do things right from the start, guys. I'm here. We'll give out. We're doing this, again, it's all about giving out the right information. If you need a service from us, we'll cover the service, before you've ever spent a dime, whether it's the right time to do it or not. And, we're not here to just sell you. We're here to kind of guide you. And we'll provide the service. Everybody in Shaggy's group from, like I said, Tom at Operify, you got Shaggy's Consulting and Training, you've got 123 load boards, you've got we use DAT also, good load board there. We've got all of our affiliates that are associated to this, Kevin at Rig Nation, Nick and Alex Panagakos at Cornerstone Insurance, Shield. So when you start going through our processes here, if you're looking at understand that everything you need is going to basically be in this group. And there'll be somebody that'll take their time with you, and that's key. They're not going to sit there and rush you through, okay, you need this, this, and this to be legal. I'm selling you a product. They're going to sit there and explain, variations of their products too. Alex, Alex can make them Yeah. So you're going to get the reality. So I think we're probably good. It was a good show, I hope. And I hope it was important.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks for watching. And we look forward to being at. And I don't know if we're going to do next week or if we're going to go the week after, Penny, but I'm going to leave that up to you.
Let's go the week after.
Okay, so every other week we're going to try and get this done. We had a couple things come up last week, and it got extended out. So again, 2 weeks from this Thursday, we'll be back up, and we'll have another special guest for you.
All right. Well, thanks.
Take care, guys.
Bye.